Right now on WUSA9, we are bringing you live extended weather impact coverage. As a snowstorm moves through the DMV, you can see the flakes have begun to fall after what has been a really steady day of rain, we should say. Let's give you some live images showing how things are shaping up in areas like DC, Reston, Bowie. As we track the storm's path, our crews are out in the community on the roads to show you the current conditions throughout the region. Thanks for joining us on WUSA9 Plus. I'm Larry Miller. Our weather impact team has been alerting you for days about this incoming system, and tonight we're walking you through as the storm unfolds. The Chief Topper Shutt, along with meteorologist Daniel Johnson, joining us tonight. So guys, are things on track the way that you predicted?
I think so, pretty much. I mean,
overall,
this turnover might have been an hour or two late, and we maybe scaled back a little bit in the snow map, but not much.
Yeah, not too much. We're still expecting a few inches in most locations. It's going to take a while to accumulate on roadways, but still hazardous travel through Monday morning.
All right, so let's get right to it. Here's our brand new map, okay? And we just put this out a little while ago. That, of course, is the radar. The blue is their snow. But we want to see the CG17 if we just could. That would be grand. I mean, I can talk about the radar. This is the blue, so you can see that it's gone from green to blue. So we had a gradual changeover, okay, throughout the day. And we expected that. That's why we had the alert go on at noon. We said you could do stuff in the morning, even in the early afternoon. Look at the snow all the way back down into Richmond. If we can't get this, then we're going to flip. Daniel, you'll do the map, and I will do this. All right. So I'm going to run max 3 for a minute. So here's the radar, and again, it's gone back to snow. We'll zoom in. Now, the problem with this is that we have temperatures above freezing, and that is the problem. Okay, so if we zoom in a little bit more, you see temperatures temperatures were in the mid 30s across the board. So, all right, so let's now talk about snowfall. And again, we've been pretty steady with this map most of the last 3 days. 2 to 5 inches general in the metro, a trace to 2, Fredericksburg kind of dovetailing back up into Luray, and then 5 to 10 inches plus across Dover into Georgetown. As we mentioned earlier, the plus could be a pretty big number. Georgetown down toward Easton and up toward Dover. So we have a weather impact alert. Rain's changing to snow. It runs until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Accumulation will be tonight. Little concerned about isolated power outages because of the wind. Winds are going to gust to 30 miles an hour tomorrow. So limit your driving tonight. Also, the roads just will be mainly wet, but the visibility will be greatly lowered because of the heavier snow. And of course, download the WUSA9 app. So where does this go? 7 o'clock, we have pretty good snows back to Leesburg and Manassas. 10:30, still some pretty good snows back to Leesburg and Manassas. And even by 1 o'clock, a band of snow kind of right through Montgomery County down to 70. Now, let's talk about where the snow is now and who's under what kind of a warning. Daniel.
That's right. Let's take a look at radar one more time here, or Futurecast. We can pop that up and just talk about what's going on. But overall, you can see that snow as we progress through the next several hours. It will be picking up in intensity and then eventually tapering off shortly after the midnight hour. So that's when it will be shifting east away from the region in the DC metro area, likely wrapping up by 1 or 2 in the morning. So that's a several-hour time period with some of those big flakes falling from the sky. And eventually, we will be seeing a few inches of snow. So there it is, eventually shutting off the precipitation by your Monday morning, but by then the roads are still going to be slippery. So we are just giving people some tips to stay off the roads this evening and tonight and into Monday morning just to be safe if possible. Notice temperatures will be near freezing early Monday morning with some slippery spots, still some snow showers out across Delmarva. And we are still talking about winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. We'll talk more about that, show you that forecast map coming up shortly, and also your 7-day forecast. Larry.
Daniel, thank you. Meantime, our crews are deployed county by county tonight as the storm moves in. Let's begin with our Alexis Wainwright and the WUSA9 weather commander. She's in Bowie right now checking on conditions in Prince George's County. Alexis, that really is sort of a sweet spot in terms of this storm is expected in terms of what we're supposed to see out there, even further west in areas like Annapolis. What are you seeing now?
Well, Larry, that's exactly right. We are in Bowie and we're seeing the snow fall steadily at this hour. We've been seeing it kind of come down for maybe an hour now. So I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see what we're seeing in the WUSA9 Weather Commander. We are on Mitchellville Road. And as we continue to go straight down this, we'll be having Bowie Town Center on our left-hand side, and then we're going to kind of get closer to Route 50. And if you were getting on Route 301, this is kind of the main road that you would take. You can see again some of the snow starting to come down here. A lot of cars are still kind of out about on the road making those last-minute errands as well. But if you take a closer look, you can see just how foggy it also is in some parts of this area here in Bowie. But again, you can see that people are still out and about at this hour. We do know that the Department of Public Works and Transportation with Prince George's County also has crews that have already been deployed. They've been out working and kind of going back and forth and treating some of those roads already. I spoke with them on the phone, and they are asking people to be mindful when it comes to cleanup as well. Some of the main things they want people to remember is that if you can move your car off of the road and park in a driveway, if you can do so. They also are asking for people to continue to give space to those plows as they start to do work and kind of move through the different neighborhoods and main roads. They also say, please park or don't park on snow emergency routes as all of this process starts again, because again, we know that a lot of residents are a little bit concerned here in Prince George's County after the last snowstorm that we had. But again, crews say they're out, they're already working, and they're going to be doing different hour shifts. So again, it might be hard to see off of this camera, so I'm going to switch it one more time so you can see where we are. We're right near, again, Mitchellville Road and kind of going further down closer to Route 50. So this is what we're seeing right now. We can also tell you that Prince George's County Public Schools have just announced a 2-hour delay. So again, we're starting to see some action in this area right now, but of course we'll continue to monitor things. But right now, snow coming down a little steadily right now. We also are seeing a lot of people kind of getting off of the roads after they're finishing those last minute errands. But again, if you do see crews out, please give them space as they try to start to go out in these areas. They're going to start with the main roads, and then they'll move to secondary roads, and then also the neighborhoods, which usually are last. But we're in Bowie right now. We'll continue to monitor things and update you as we learn more. But for now, right now, things are moving okay. Larry.
Right, certainly some good news there. And, you know, I think all things considered, the reason why residents in Prince George's County, as you described, are typically a little bit concerned when the weather turns a particular way because of the sort of response to the treatment of roads that we've seen in the past, and how snow and ice tends to accumulate on certain roads, some certain trouble spots that you've certainly profiled in your reporting, and how when we get that added snow and that added ice in terms of what that means for safety. But the good news here, as we've heard from Top and the rest of the members of our WUSA9 weather impact team, is that we're not going to see the sort of accumulation that we've seen in the past. And additionally, because temperatures now are above freezing, we're not going to see that sort of ice that we've seen before that was certainly causing some problems there. So good news, but still make sure you take it easy on the roads. So we're also keeping a close eye on any school closures, delays for tomorrow. Right now, we know of 2. Fairfax County Public Schools and Prince George's County Public Schools will open late on a 2-hour delay. Some districts are running out of snow days because of the last storm. For students in Montgomery County, the school year will now end on June 23rd. Now, the district says that extending the school year is really the only way to meet the state of Maryland's instructional requirements. All public school systems must provide 180 days of instruction each year. More than 40 million people are currently under blizzard warnings right now as that nor'easter targets much of the East Coast. Several states have declared a state of emergency and have issued travel bans ahead of the storm, including New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So let's take it to New York. This is a live look at Times Square now, where they could see at least 2 feet of snow by Monday. Well, as of this afternoon, 3,200 flights have been canceled. That's according to FlightAware. Jen Sullivan is in New York with details on how they're bracing for this monster winter storm.
An historic winter storm that could dump close to 2 feet of snow across parts of the Northeast is paralyzing travel. The mayor of New York City declaring a state of emergency and issuing a travel ban Sunday until midday Monday.
The state of emergency closes the streets, highways, and bridges of New York City for all traffic.
The city could see 2 feet of snow by Monday evening, with 2 inches falling per hour overnight, creating whiteout conditions.
New York City has not faced a storm of this scale in the last decade.
Blizzard warnings are in effect from Delaware up to New England.
Boston is no stranger to nor'easters, but this is going to be a big one.
This high-impact bomb cyclone could produce wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour, triggering power outages. Areas along the coast could see widespread flooding and snowfall totals closer to 30 inches. Several states have now declared a state of emergency, including parts of New York and all of New Jersey.
The entire state of New Jersey, all 21 counties, is under a blizzard warning for the first time in 30 years.
Even D.C. could see up to 5 inches of snow. House members delaying a vote to Tuesday in the wake of the storm. And many of these areas expected to get slammed Sunday night still have leftover snow on the ground from last month's winter storm that dumped nearly a foot of accumulation in many areas. Jen Sullivan, WUSA 9.
There's a good chance that you may have to do a little shoveling tonight, even tomorrow. Doctors reminding you again to be careful. The storm is not expected to be as severe as we saw last month, but treat it like a workout. Stretch, prepare, cover up exposed skin if it's really cold outside. The cold can make blood thicker and your heart work a lot faster, increasing chances of a heart attack.
If you're going to do it yourself, do it slowly, bend your knees, try to push instead of lift. And if there's a lot of snow, I don't think we're expecting that, but you can do it in little increments. You don't have to lift the whole pile at once. Lift some of it.
That was Dr. Miriam Fisher of MedStar Health saying that you should be mindful of where you're walking as well. Last month, their emergency departments treated a lot of injuries related to slips, including those who had their hands in their pocket and couldn't react quickly to a fall. Our weather impact alert coverage is just beginning tonight, and we're with you until 7 o'clock this evening. Here's another live look at the district as we head to break. In just 2 minutes, we're going to be talking with DC road crews about their plans to keep everyone safe. Well, as the rain starts to turn to snow, we're keeping a close eye on road conditions throughout the district. Director Sharon Kirschbaum with the District Department of Transportation joining us tonight to get us up to speed on what we are seeing outside. Sharon, thanks for being here with us this evening.
Happy to join you.
So Sharon, walk us through sort of what the response is right now. We know things are light. We're expecting a change earlier in the evening, which means no doubt your teams will be responding to it.
Yes, well, now that the precipitation is turning to snow, we're able to salt. And we really don't like to salt when it's rain because the rain just washes it away. So you're going to see plow trucks on the road. They'll be salting really through midnight. We're very hopeful. It sounds like the precipitation should really start to lighten up around midnight. And once we have about half an inch or an inch and a half or 2 inches, then we start pushing. So if we get accumulation that high, we're ready, and the plows will, drop then, and we'll start pushing until you get blacktop.
You know, I was driving along Wisconsin Avenue and I saw a couple of trucks already in position. Is that the situation right now, that trucks are in position ready to go when called?
Yes, I mean, the crews started at noon today, and really just to fill up with salt. Again, it was wet until very recently, and we don't like to throw salt down too early. So they are now ready to go. Their trucks are filled with salt, and as more and more of the neighborhoods are turning to snow, they're going to be dropping the salt everywhere. So I think we've timed it perfectly. We've got, while the snow is coming down, we'll salt. Once the snow stops and we get to 2 inches, then we start pushing. And if it really does stop around midnight, it should be in really pretty clear for the morning.
Sharon, walk us through sort of the priority list here. Which roads typically get treated first before you make your way into those neighborhoods?
We actually have our crews out across the entire city when we start. So the major arterials, they tend to get cleared faster because we have heavier plows. We don't have cars on the road, so it's very easy to clear those curb to curb. But the neighborhoods are going to get treated as well. Once we have the major arterials covered, we'll move the heavy trucks into the neighborhoods where the roads are big enough and they can fit them. So I would say we do everything all at the beginning, but you'll tend to notice the biggest impact on the larger roads. But our goal is to get everything done. And again, this one it's such a different situation than the last one. So, with the warm pavement temperatures, even if we do have accumulation, it's going to be slushy and easy to push. We have warm temperatures tomorrow, and we also have the benefit tomorrow of having a lot of wind. So it will be blustery and unpleasant to feel with cold wind chills, but the wind really helps us with drying out the pavement.
Sharon, was there any concern about sort of the residuals that we saw from the last storm complicating the response to this storm? We still have quite a few snow mounds and a little bit of snow creek packed around a few neighborhoods. Was that a factor in any of how you were going to respond tonight?
Well, obviously, if there were still big mounds of ice on the roadway, we would be concerned. But actually, the situation in the district itself, while there are mounds, they tend to be on the sidewalk. So the roads are really not going to be impacted by it. We've had some great warm temperatures and the melting's been great. So no, we are not changing our strategy and position based on the last storm. We're just really grateful that this is a very, very different kind of event.
I think we all are. I think some of us were hoping for spring to come a little early. Clearly, that didn't work out that way. Sharon, any last words that you want to pass along to folks at home as your crews get ready to respond to the storm tonight?
Well, we're very optimistic because of the warm pavement temperatures and the salting that you're not going to see much accumulation on the roadways. But sidewalks and your front steps, they could see full accumulation. And again, it could be 4 to 5 inches in the district. So the only thing I'd recommend is to shovel early. I think everyone learned last time that the longer the snow sits, it really does get harder to shovel. So you may have accumulation definitely on your grass and maybe on your sidewalk. So be vigilant about getting to that quickly.
Director Sharon Kirschbaum with the District Department of Transportation. Thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
This WUSA9 Weather Impact Alert is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.
All right, so we are looking at a pretty much all changeover to wet snow right now. And here's our updated map. This is on our website too, WUSA9.com, and on our weather app. So 2 to 5 inches across the metro. And again, as we've been saying all along, interstates are probably going to be fine. But when it starts to snow hard, 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight, temps will be right around freezing. So some of your side roads could be covered. So just sort of take it easy. Trace to 2 inches to the south. And then the bullseye is still east of town, 5 to 10 plus, and that plus could be a big number for places like Dover and also Georgetown. So here's Doppler, and here's the breadth of the storm. It is just taking shape now, just off the Norfolk coast there. But you see bands of snow already up into Philly. It's been snowing in New York for a while, although not heavily just yet. And we'll kind of zoom in. Again, the blue is snow, and the darker shades or gradations of blue is heavier snow. So it's gone from rain to snow. And, oddly enough, it turned to snow earlier along the Delmarva. We'll kind of zoom in a little more, and we have pretty good bands of snow now across most of the metro. In the past couple of hours, this is 2 hours old, it has now changed except down to Fredericksburg. We'll kind of zoom in here. So we got temperatures now falling. So they're 34 in Frederick, 35 in Gaithersburg, 36 downtown. We'll take a live look outside. This is our weather terrace, which is snowing pretty good. But notice it's not accumulating on any of the pavement down there. But I think we're going to see some accumulation on the bushes here in the next hour or so. All right, so we'll go back to Futurecast. 7 o'clock tonight, pretty good bands of snow from Leesburg eastward. Not very heavy along I-81. That was really never the bullseye. By 10:30, still some pretty good bands of snow. Temps around, kind of flirting with 32. By 1 o'clock, some bands, Gaithersburg, D.C., Waldorf, but pretty much over by 1 o'clock, Leesburg and Manassas. And then by 6 a.m., it's gone. Notice the arrows. Winds are really starting to howl now out of the northwest, and temperatures in the low 30s, and there could be a flurry or a snow shower on Monday. So here's Daniel to talk about the warnings and also those winds on Monday may not be a joke.
That's right. That's another concern. The winds whipping up and causing some concern and problems, especially along the coast. And Topper, this is a big system, a classic nor'easter. Look at all the watches, warnings, and advisories. Basically in effect from Richmond, Virginia, all the way up through Portland, Maine. So a very impressive system, very dynamic and intense system across the region. And we will be seeing these watches remain in effect until Monday morning. So yeah, these will eventually expire, but we are seeing all of these warnings remain in effect here. Winter weather advisories for the immediate district, winter storm warnings north and east. We have blizzard warnings along the coast, and you saw those going all the way up through Philadelphia and through New York and up to Boston as well. And those warnings eventually expire. Now let's talk about the winds heading into tomorrow, because these winds are going to begin to pick up through the region. We're talking wind gusts over the next few hours, picking up in intensity right now, just right around 10 to 20. But later on today and into tomorrow, these wind gusts will be picking up above 30 miles per hour. But look at the coast. Wow. Ocean City gusting to 61 perhaps, 45 gusts in Salisbury. That's why blizzard warnings are in effect for Delmarva. For us, just some gusty winds. But again, winds gusting upwards of 30 to 35 could cause some problems even here in the immediate metro. So isolated power outages can't be ruled out. The wind chills will be quite cold heading into Monday morning as well because of these gusts. But luckily, we're not talking these types of gusts here in the immediate metro. Topper, more on the timeline of this event. Do you have more on that?
Yeah, so here's the thing. We're looking at the accumulating snow tonight, and we talked about that. It was never going to be an issue during the morning and afternoon. We have heavy snow tapers off, though, between now and midnight. I think we'll see 2 to 4 inches generally in that time frame. And again, temperatures very close to 32 degrees, okay? By, say, midnight to Monday morning, it's going to be windy. You saw the winds Daniel had. Light snow, maybe a trace to an additional inch, but now it's on some side roads. Again, I think the interstates are going to be fine. The road temperatures are quite warm. After that, 6 a.m. to noon, windy and cold, gusts to 30 and over. Just some flurries possible, and temperatures will be, upper 30s to mid 40s, so kind of a blustery, almost like a March day really than a February day. But that's below average. Our average high is now 49. So we graph out Monday. We've got wind, and temps around 40. And again, clouds hang on all day. We begin to clear tomorrow night. So low 40s tomorrow, windy. We'll keep that alert going in the morning. And then some clouds come in Tuesday. We could see a snow shower Tuesday night, and then some morning showers on Wednesday, but temperatures back around 50 on Wednesday. And really we get into next week, and we're looking at temperatures even warmer. Larry's going to love this. 50 on Thursday with rain and showers, but then 52 on Friday, partly cloudy. Sunshine next Saturday, 57. And partly cloudy next Sunday. I will not be seeing you next Sunday, Larry. It will be partly cloudy and 60.
And when you're a good person, good things happen to you, like 60s in the forecast. Top, before we let you go really quickly, I'm curious, with this added wind and an already saturated ground, is there possibilities of any sort of trees that could topple over, things like that?
Well, I mean, we're kind of concerned about the power outages because of the clingy snow. We'll see how much accumulates on the we're not in Georgia, but we have a lot of pine trees, okay, and they can break off pretty big limbs, and that can cause some isolated power outages. So we're kind of concerned about that. Full trees, Probably not.
Okay.
Because the winds are only about 30 here and about more of a concern on the Delmarva. Winds 50 there. But here, a minor concern. And certainly I'm more concerned about that than I am the roads, actually, with this storm.
All right, well, that context is helpful. Todd, thank you. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You know, we were talking about during the commercial break, sort of the need to take it easy if you're going to be shoveling snow. I don't think this is, as you've described, it won't be the sort of snow what we saw the last go around.
No, but it will be heavy wet.
Okay.
It'll have a high moisture content, which is heavy. Great for snowballs.
At least there isn't thick ice on top of it.
That's right. It's not 3 inches of ice on top. All right, so, I mean, we'll be honest. Daniel and I are sweating this one out. And it's gone to snow, so we're fairly pleased about that. It's going to have to thump now for the next 6 or 7 hours to get our 2 to 5 inches, which we think it will. Along I-81, not that much, but again, east of I-81, kind of like 15 eastward, across to 70, and then of course the Delmarva still is the bullseye.
Yeah.
Big time snow there, but that's what the temperatures are. They are falling, but it's still a little bit above freezing. That's why it's got to snow really hard to get accumulating.
This seems like this has been a little tricky, this one.
Well, it's been because it's a rain to snow event. It was last time we knew it was going to be all frozen precip of some type because it was so darn cold. Different story here.
All right, Todd, thanks. Well, our coverage continues at 5:30 right here on WUSA9 Plus. Keep it tuned. Right now on WUSA9 Plus, we're bringing you live extended weather impact alert coverage as a snowstorm moves through the region. We can see the flakes beginning to fall after what has been a steady day of rain throughout much of the day. Live images showing us how things are shaping up in DC, Reston, and even Bowie. We're going to get to those live images in a bit, but I will tell you that it looks spectacular from what we have been able to see. Our crews are also out in the community as well on the roads, giving us a look at current conditions throughout much of the region. Thanks for joining us on WUSA9 Plus. I'm Larry Miller. Our weather impact team has been alerting you about this system for several days now, and tonight we're going to walk you through everything that you need to know as the storm unfolds. We have the chief, Topper Shutt, along with meteorologist Daniel Johnson joining us tonight, getting us up to speed on the forecast. Let's begin with the chief, Topper Shutt, out in the weather terrace, letting us know how things are shaping up outside. Top?
I mean, just in the last, half an hour or so, there's nothing on the concrete here in the weather terrace, but I mean, if I look at the little park beneath us, it's covered. The ground is covered already. And yes, it is starting to get on trees and bushes, and that's what I'm concerned about as we get winds tomorrow. So let's start with our map, and we just updated this about 45 minutes ago, and here's what we're thinking, okay? We're thinking essentially what we've been thinking most of the week, really. I mean, we've modified it an inch here or there, but generally 2 to 5 inches in the metro, okay? And then we're looking at 5 to 10 to the east, and that hasn't changed. The bullseye has always been off to the east, and that has not changed. And then a trace to 2 inches once you get south of Fredericksburg. Notice that little bump out toward Luray and up into Petersburg. So you guys are not going to get the heavy snow. It's just not going to quite get to you. So consequently, we'll go a trace to maybe 2 inches there, and that's it. So again, the bullseye is east as this storm really begins to wrap up and intensify off the Delmarva coast in the next 6 hours or so. So here's Futurecast. Temperatures getting close to freezing. I mean, 33 Gaithersburg, 34 in DC, and we got pretty good snow. You see the dark blue? That's pretty good bands of snow, all right? And that's 7 o'clock tonight. We get into 10:30. We still have pretty good bands of snow. Not to I-81, mind you, but to Leesburg and Manassas and points east. And I mean hammer time on the Delmarva. Look how dark blue that is compared to what's over the metro. And then we get into, say, 1 o'clock, still some light snow. Temperatures now flirting with 32, but because we're not going to fall into the 20s tonight, I don't think roads are going to be that bad. Yes, we're going to see accumulation on sidewalks and driveways, but essentially interstates should be just absolutely fine. And then we get into, say, 6 o'clock. Now we have just winds rolling in with temperatures again right around freezing. Now, this storm is a huge storm, not quite as big as one we had in January, but for more on what the breadth of these watches and warnings, here's meteorologist Daniel Johnson.
Absolutely. We're going to get to those warnings and advisories shortly, but first, another check at radar. An impressive system, and the reason it switched over to snow now is the low pressure's really bumming out. It's strengthening quickly off the coast of Delmarva. So a lot of colder air wrapping in and some heavier precipitation moving through the region as well. So you can see all the white and blue. That is now snow across a good portion, if not all, of the metro here. Still struggling to switch over to full-on snow as you head off to the south, but eventually everyone will switch over in the next hour to plain snow. Temperatures have been dropping as well. It was 38 in DC just an hour ago. Now it's 36, 35 in Leesburg and Gaithersburg with this snow. So still above freezing, which is good news. That's why it's going to struggle to stick a little bit, but eventually these rates will overcome those warmer ground and sidewalks. So overall, the sidewalks, side streets, sidewalks will be the main concern, but look at all these warnings and advisories from Richmond to Portland, Maine. Blizzard warnings for the Delmarva coast up through New York and Philly. Winter weather advisories for the immediate metro. And that's because accumulations won't be as significant in the metro compared to areas in the warning off to the north and east. Larry.
All right, Daniel, thank you so much. Looks like this thing is certainly jumping, as the kids like
Yeah,
to
tough
say.
forecast.
All right, so let's talk about school closures delays that we will likely see tomorrow. Right now, we know of 2, Fairfax, Prince George's County. Also, Montgomery County schools will open late as well. So that's 3 that we have there for you that will be opening on a 2-hour delay. Montgomery County already out of snow days because of the storm that we saw last month. So for students there, the school year will now end on June 25th. Now, the district says that extending the school year really is the only way to meet the state's instructional requirements. All public school systems in the state of Maryland must provide at least 180 instructional days each school year. Well, the storm is also impacting flights at our 3 local airports as well. At Reagan National, nearly 300 flights have been canceled. At Dulles, it's about 70, and BWI, about 250 flights have been canceled so far. Now, we're also seeing a lot of delays associated with the storm, so make sure that you're checking in with your airline before you head to the airport. Now, there's also some good news if you're going to be flying out over the next couple of days. The Department of Homeland Security has reversed the decision to temporarily suspend TSA PreCheck. It is, in fact, maintaining its suspension of global entry. Now, earlier today, DHS said that the security programs would be paused because of a partial government shutdown. They made the reverse on TSA PreCheck. They are keeping global entry suspended, impacting those that are traveling internationally, trying to make your way back into the U.S. An estimated 63,000 TSA agents have been working without pay since the partial shutdown began on Valentine's Day. Well, this latest snowstorm system really is a reminder about your health as well. Doctors at MedStar Health saw plenty of patients from last month's winter weather event. A lot of injuries were related to falling from ice and cold temperatures. Now, this snowstorm is expected to be short-lived, but Dr. Miriam Fisher says don't let your guard down with this one.
The slips and falls. This is not the day to wear those fancy shoes. Be practical. Make sure things are shoveled, watch out for that slick ice. And if you can hopefully spring is coming and this might be our last one. Take the day, warm up, sit with a book, have some hot cocoa, and wait for this one out.
All right, some good advice there. Well, she says that it's also a good idea to be stocked up on your medication and determine how to get or even make up important appointments as well. As we said, about 40 million people are currently under a blizzard warning right now as this nor'easter makes its way up the East Coast. Several states have declared state of emergency. As we've also talked about as well, travel is also being impacted up and down the corridor. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, and Delaware all impacted by this storm. Let's take you to New York City right now. This is a live look from Times Square where they could see as much as 2 feet of snow by Monday. As of this afternoon, 3,200 flights have been canceled. That's according to FlightAware. Jen Sullivan is in New York with details on how they're bracing for this monster winter storm.
An historic winter storm that could dump close to 2 feet of snow across parts of the Northeast is paralyzing travel. The mayor of New York City declaring a state of emergency and issuing a travel ban Sunday until midday Monday.
This state of emergency closes the streets, highways, and bridges of New York City for all traffic.
The city could see 2 feet of snow by Monday evening, with 2 inches falling per hour overnight, creating whiteout conditions.
New York City has not faced a storm of this scale in the last decade.
Blizzard warnings are in effect from Delaware up to New England.
Boston is no stranger to nor'easters, but this is going to be a big one.
This high-impact bomb cyclone could produce wind gusts of up to 60 miles per hour, triggering power outages. Areas along the coast could see widespread flooding and snowfall totals closer to 30 inches. Several states have now declared a state of emergency, including parts of New York and all of New Jersey.
The entire state of New Jersey, all 21 counties, is under a blizzard warning for the first time in 30 years.
Even D.C. could see up to 5 inches of snow. House members delaying a vote to Tuesday in the wake of the storm. And many of these areas expected to get slammed Sunday night still have leftover snow on the ground from last month's winter storm that dumped nearly a foot of accumulation in many areas. Jen Sullivan, WUSA9.
Our weather impact alert coverage is just getting started. We're with you until 7 o'clock tonight. Another live look at the district before we head to break. In just 2 minutes, we are talking with Virginia road crews about their plans to keep everyone safe.
This WUSA9 Weather Impact Alert is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan.
And I'm WUSA9 meteorologist Topper Shutt. Okay, the rain has now turned to snow, and this is when we're going to get our accumulating snow. We talked about that really pretty much all week. So started out with a cold rain, and now we have a wet snow, and it's accumulating pretty fast, I must say. So 2 to 5 inches in the metro. Less as you kind of go south and west and sort of dovetail up past Luray. And then the bullseye hasn't changed. 5 to 10 inches, extreme eastern Prince George's County, most of Calvert County, kind of unusual, and then across the bay. 5 to 10 inches of snow plus. And as we discussed really since Thursday and Friday, that plus could be a pretty big number in Dover and down toward Georgetown. Really could be. So here's the radar. Here's how big the storm is, and it's just taking shape now, just off the Delmarva, kind of not far from the Virginia Capes area. A pretty classic situation in terms of where the storm's developing. It is going to kind of pull a little bit away from the shore, but it's going to be a pretty massive storm, and we're going to get some pretty good bands of snow till about 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock tonight. So we'll kind of zoom in. You see the darker shades of blue. That's the heavier snow. It took a while, but now everything has gone essentially to snow across the metro, and you see the darker shades. That's the heavier snow. Pretty good bands now. East side of 15 and the west side of 270, kind of straddling the river there. And temps are falling. I mean, they're still above freezing, but they are falling. Temperatures, mid-30s in Frederick, mid-30s in Gaithersburg, and 35 also in Leesburg. So we have this weather impact alert. We issue these when you have nuisance weather coming or life-threatening. In this case, it's kind of both. So now until tomorrow morning at 6, rain goes to wet snow, accumulation overnight. Isolated power outages. I've been most concerned about that with this storm than I have the roads, quite frankly. Limit your driving tonight. If nothing else, the roads may be fine, but visibility greatly reduced. Winter gear and download the WUSA9 app. So 7 o'clock tonight, still pretty good bands going on in the immediate metro and it points east. And then by 10:30, still some pretty good bands, but heaviest activity, again, look at that over the Delmarva with temperatures around 32. All right, it's a big storm. Here's meteorologist Daniel Johnson to show you how big it is.
That's right. We have warnings, watches in effect from Virginia all the way to Maine. Blizzard warnings in effect from Delmarva through Philly, through New York, and through Boston. So a very impressive classic nor'easter, and it means business, especially for areas off to our north and east. Winter weather advisories in effect for the immediate metro. Winter storm warnings in effect for Loudoun County, northern Fauquier County, portions of Anne Arundel County, and even portions of southern Maryland under that warning. The counties under the warning, the white highlighted areas, are the areas that will likely see more of the significant snow. So we are watching that closely. And as Topper said, overall main roads should be okay. Yes, some slushy accumulation and slippery, but it's the side streets, it's the sidewalks that will be snow covered and causing some problems. Wind, that's also a concern we're paying attention to. Right now, winds just between 10 to 15, but over the next few hours, as this nor'easter really gets cranking, winds will begin to gust in the metro between 20 and 30. Check out Delmarva though, gusting to 45 to even 60 in some spots. That is impressive wind gusts, and that's why blizzard warnings are in effect. And Topper mentioned it early, blizzard warnings really just a criteria for visibility and the wind causing the blowing snow and reduced visibility. So yeah, they're getting snow, but very strong winds too. So isolated power outages can't even be ruled out here in the metro. All right, Topper, toss it back over to you with some more information on some details on the timeline.
Okay, yeah, we really can. The winds are going to be a problem. I mean, in the metro, as you mentioned, but also especially across the Delmarva. So 1 o'clock tonight, so late tonight, we have, still some snow in the metro. Again, heaviest bands are now moving out to sea, but still, we have some accumulating snow. By 6 a.m., though, just strong northwest winds that Daniel was talking about. Temps around freezing. I mean, this is great news. I mean, sometimes we'll see a situation like this, and temps will fall into the mid-20s and upper 20s. Roads would have been a disaster. Not going to happen. Temperatures around freezing. Roads will not be that bad tonight, the main roads. By 9 o'clock, we're back to the upper 30s, still strong northwest winds. By 1 o'clock, we could see a rain or snow shower still, temperatures upper 30s to around 40. And then by about this time tomorrow evening, temperatures in the upper 30s, but beginning to clear slowly. It'll take all day to clear tomorrow, and then tomorrow night we're clear. Now, tomorrow night, we are going to be in the 20s by 11 o'clock. Roads may actually in some ways be worse Tuesday morning with black ice, especially on sidewalks and driveways and that sort of thing. And, so right now, 6 p.m. to midnight, we have heavy snow tapering off 2 to 4 inches, and we'll be on some roads, temps around freezing. And then we get into, say, midnight to Monday morning, 6 a.m., windy, light snow, maybe another trace to an inch. And again, still on some roads and temperatures around the freezing mark. So there's your alert early tomorrow. Cold on Tuesday, 39, and then morning showers on Wednesday, but we're back to 50 on Wednesday. And look at this, we're 50 on Thursday with some rain and showers, but then Friday's partly cloudy, low 50s, sunny on Saturday and 57, and just for Larry, partly cloudy, 60 next Sunday.
It does get better eventually. Todd, thanks so much. Let's talk about the road conditions in the Commonwealth right now. Alex Leggett, Communications Manager with the Virginia Department of Transportation, joining us right now. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Larry, how are you?
I'm doing great, can't complain. So, Alex, talk to us about the roads in Northern Virginia. Are you seeing any trouble spots right now? We know it's still early, but typically we know VDOT is always typically on it when the weather starts to take a turn.
Well, I can tell you that my boss literally just texted me while I was sitting on this Zoom waiting to go on, saying she just saw the first plow go by her neighborhood or her house near Route 50. And she said the plow was down and the blade was down and was going. So, yep, we've started our operations across the region. We're in VDOT Northern Virginia District, so we're Fairfax. The primaries in Arlington County, also Loudoun, Prince William counties. And we have just over 1,500 pieces of equipment for this system. We are expecting, some of the road conditions to deteriorate pretty quickly here after sunset. Temperatures now, they're getting a little bit closer to freezing. So this is kind of when we're asking folks to start staying off the roads and getting home if at all possible, just to let our crews start to do their work.
Alex, I'm curious, what did you guys learn from the last storm? I mean, no doubt that last storm that we had was a whopper for many of us throughout town. Has that changed the approach at all as to how you're responding to this storm currently?
Not necessarily, just because the storms are very unique. Each one is different in its own way. For this one, we're trying to figure out exactly where the banding would set up and if it's going to set up and then how much that's going to dump and whether that'll be over Loudoun County or Fairfax County. So, we try to plan for some of the higher end scenarios. And that kind of allows us to, if we've then have a good handle on things, we can demobilize some of our crews and send them home. The last event, of course, it was a really big event, and we're always learning from every system. So we always then kind of grouped together. We had a little bit of an after action internally, and we discussed with some of our area headquarters, hey, what worked best, what didn't, were there any places we can improve? So that's something that we're always striving to do, is just kind of improve on the last system so we can make it a little bit better going forward.
There's always a concern when we have storms like this that those in particular neighborhoods, communities may not see a plow truck in their neighborhood for some time, because usually the focus is always on the major arteries throughout town. Do you anticipate that crews will be able to get out into the neighborhoods pretty quickly and early on?
It just depends on what the storm is doing. It depends on if it's going to last a little bit longer after midnight. And it also depends on how much snow is even put down. Remember, we don't even enter the neighborhoods until there's 2 inches of snow on the road surface. So not necessarily on the grass. We could have this storm maybe 4 inches on the grass, and the roads may have, a couple slushy inches. So just depends on what's going on. But yes, of course, we always treat roads in priority order from interstates and primaries first. I mean, you don't want to get folks out of the neighborhoods and all of a sudden some of the main roads that have the highest demand are completely snow covered. So that's why we do it in that order, to make sure that we get those priority spots done quickly and as efficiently as possible.
All right. I'd imagine that there are some folks that might be still out enjoying themselves with family and friends. Your advice to them, should they be heading home right now to stay off the roads?
That would be best. We got sunset here, heavy snow. The roads were already wet. Now they're potentially getting icy. If you are out there, if you're an essential worker, make sure you're using extra caution on those elevated surfaces, the bridges, ramps, overpasses, because they will tend to freeze first, particularly with these heavier snowfall rates.
All right. Last question before we let you go, Alex. I'm curious, budget-wise. The last storm that we had was a whopper, and I know you guys had to call in some additional help to respond to that storm. Is there any concern about sort of what the rest of the season looks like and whether or not we could run out of money?
No, there's no really concerns there. I can't give you a number because I really do not know it. But yeah, there aren't any concerns that we won't have plows out there. They'll be out there no matter what.
All right, no doubt. VDOT will get the job done, and I look forward to seeing what the digital signs will say, because normally you guys write some really witty stuff, so that always makes me happy there. Alex Lega, Communications Manager with the Virginia Department of Transportation. Alex, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Stay with us. Our extended streaming coverage continues after this. Let's get to some other news that's happening this evening, happening tomorrow, we should say. The Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments will hold a briefing with DC Water on the Potomac sewage crisis. We know that it comes with a rather large price tag and timeline to clean up the river will certainly be hot topics. Yesterday, President Trump approved FEMA disaster relief for the district. It comes 1 month after the Potomac Interceptor collapsed, sending millions of gallons of sewage right into the Potomac River. DC Water now estimates that repair costs could reach about $20 million. We spoke with an engineer expert who has worked with pipes and repair work before, and he says that it was only a matter of time before something like this occurred.
There's probably more sewage going through that line than it was originally designed for. And so when you take that possibility and you add that to the deterioration of the structure due to the presence of sulfuric acid, then you got a kind of a time bomb, ticking time bomb.
DC Water will host 2 community meetings to talk about the spill. The first will take place Wednesday at DC Water headquarters, that's in Southeast Washington. The second Thursday at Walt Whitman High School in Bethesda, Maryland. Both meetings kick off at 7. You can find all of the information on our website at WUSA9.com. And you can also watch our new Potomac Sewage Crisis Special streaming right here on WUSA9 Plus. We take a closer look at how this all happened, the impacts here at home, and what comes next. Download Plus for free by scanning the QR code on your screen. Well, chaos in Mexico this evening after the powerful leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel, better known as El Mencho, was killed today. Nemesio Cervantes was killed during an operation led by Mexico's military. Now, Cervantes, a former police officer, led one of the most powerful and ruthless criminal organizations in Mexico. That's according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency. Now, since his death, gangs have been retaliating in parts of the country, blocking roads, setting vehicles on fire, and even threatening the government. The U.S. has issued a travel alert to parts of Mexico, saying that U.S. citizens should shelter in place until further notice. Back here at home, we're talking about the weather forecast. Things are, not too bad right now. It's going to get a little bit worse later on this evening. But as we heard from officials in Virginia as well as in Maryland, they are ready for what's to come.
Yeah, they are. And this is such a different case, than the last storm. It's not as cold. It's just now rain to snow. It was never going to be sleet or freezing rain. So here's the radar past couple of hours. You see the darker shades of blue. That's some pretty good snowfall. I mean, Daniel, that's out there in Loudoun County, Fairfax.
Yeah.
I mean,
big flakes too.
Big flakes. So it is accumulating. Even here Northwest, a little park behind us is now covered with grass. The cars are covered.
Yeah.
So you will be scraping your car tomorrow morning, no doubt. Might want to put your windshield wipers up. And then we're looking at the best snow will be now until about midnight, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning in the metro. And then it'll slowly pull away, leaving Bowie and then Annapolis and then across the Bay Bridge into the Delmarva.
Can we talk about that line there? That's a pretty distinct
Sharp
and
cutoff.
clear line in terms of where the storm ends.
Yeah, I know. We're sweating that. We don't want that line to move east for a while. So we're
Where we are.
What's that?
Right.
Where we are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. I mean, we think it's going to fill back
Yeah.
in. This thing's going to bomb out, and essentially the storm's doing what it's been forecast to do. So,
Okay.
but don't think we won't be sweating that, because we will.
All right.
Because here in the Mid-Atlantic, we sweat out every snowstorm because it's what we do.
All right.
So much fun, right?
So much fun.
That's why they're the experts.
Not stressful at all.
Not stressful at all. All right, our live weather impact alert coverage continues at 6. Keep it tuned right here on WUSA 9 Plus.